alaikum, barkanmu da warhaka, barkanmu da shigowa cikin wannan shiri ta dogaro da kai.
Dogaro da kai maganar da ake cikin gari yanzu lokaci ne yanzu.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to News Nexus by ASK TV. I'm your host, Maina, Joda, as usual. So today on this sunny Saturday morning, we are gathering to discuss a topic that is on everyone's mind, a topic that is the talk of town, as they say it, and that's the implications of the Dangote refinery, PMS supply, the price, availability, supply, and the rest of it. I think for years we've been having this impression that, well, if the Dangote refinery begins to work, we will be in El Dorado. But it seems it's not the case as it is. And the general belief then was that it will drop the price to a price that it will be affordable for Nigerians. But from what we are seeing, that is not the case. As we all know, the fuel crisis have been a recurring issue in our country, affecting millions of lives. And the recent development with the increase in the price, the coming of Dangote refinery, the cost and every other thing, things that sparked both concern mostly. Well, when they announced that the refinery will begin to work, there was hope. Everybody thought, well, this is a refinery in Nigeria, the crude is in Naira, it should affect the price positively and be a form of a cushioning effect for the subsidy removal. But well, that is not the case as for now. Well, we don't know, maybe in the future if other refineries come in, but for now, that is not the case. And joining me today are three distinguished guests. Mr. Rekwende Bitrus Kefas is a public relations and corporate governance expert. And we also have Damilare Durosimi Eti, a finance professional and entrepreneur. And as usual, we have Comrade Tony Adewumi, a socialist and human rights activist. So together, we will delve into the intricacies of these issues and explore its potentials, the impact on our economy, society, and generally we'll just talk about the policies, the economy of the country, and everything is going to be a very, very balanced discussion. So let's get started. Stay glued to your TV sets, and it's streaming live on YouTube on ASK TV. So get prepared for a Saturday morning delight from here. Well, without wasting much of our time, I will bring in my guest into the conversation. And I will start with RB Kefas, a friend of mine. Mr. Kefas Rekwende is a public analyst expert and governance expert. So, Mr. RB Kefas, Rekwende Bitrus Kefas, I would like to ask, what do you think is the root cause of the current fuel increase and scarcity in Nigeria? What is the root cause?
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be on Pascal this morning to discuss about one of the greatest issues we are facing in Nigeria, especially these few days. Fuel, whether we like it or not, in Nigeria is one thing that affects every facet of the economy. It affects every lifestyle we want to talk about. To as little, somebody said, even if you want to buy salt today, the moment there's a fuel scarcity, the prices increases. You know, in those days, we used to say salt is one of the cheapest thing you get. But once there's a fuel increase, they will tell you, okay, salt don't increase. Now, our economy is so much dependent on crude, especially petrol. We're a petrodollar economy. The major source of our income in Nigeria comes from crude, comes from petrol. So whatever affects its availability affects every facet of life, especially when you think about transportation. We are yet to have other means of transportation that doesn't use crude. Well, diesel is there, but then fuel is the big deal. So whenever there is scarcity, it affects everything. And they will have a problem of location of most of the tank farms, which is largely in Lagos, if not all. And then because clearly the importers want to take advantage of the seaport because that's the cheapest way for them to import this fuel. Now, when they import this fuel, it takes months before it comes into the country, minimum 3 months. And then when it gets to Lagos, well, I heard tanker drivers will say they have to queue at Apapa. After queuing for days, they load this fuel. By the time they ship from Lagos to any other state, especially the northern state, it takes minimum of 72 hours, considering the bad roads, considering multiple checkpoints that these tanker drivers will have to face. So you see, for every 1 day of fuel scarcity, I think the multiplier effect is 3 days of scarcity. So imagine a scenario where there are 3 days or 2 days of fuel scarcity. That means you have 6 days to catch up supply, especially in the northern states because of distance and some of the effects, some things that I've mentioned, like roadblocks, like bad road, are other unforeseen contingency. And now locally, we don't have any refinery that is producing. That's why we are import dependent. Even the crude we have, it has to be taken out to be refined before you import it back to Nigeria. It takes those number of days I mentioned earlier. Those are some of the issues we're having in Nigeria. As long as you don't produce your own food, your own fuel, and so many things locally that you have to be import dependent, there are times that there will be economic hitches or political hitches locally or internationally that will affect supply locally. A little hitch in the Strait of Hormuz in Iran can affect an entire supply that boils down to Nigeria. And then a little hitches around the coastal areas in around Ukraine and Russia can affect supply in Nigeria. Even for foodstuff, we saw what happened when the war was at its peak last year. We had scarcity of wheat. Most of the wheat, some of the wheat we consume in Nigeria had to come from Ukraine. Now, so as long as you don't do it locally, you don't refine, you are import dependent, you face these factors. That is why we are facing most of this scarcity. And then the most painful part is the greed associated with the importers who had to, what Nigerians will always say, cash out on the pains of others. Now, when you do cash out, that is unfortunate situation we find ourselves in Nigeria. Oh, for every unfortunate situation, there is somebody out there who wants to make fortune out of it. But the bottom line is, as long as we don't have our refineries working from Warri to Port Harcourt to Kaduna, that we have to depend on bringing it from abroad, scarcity will always be a problem at some point because we have to pay those people importing. Forex is going to be affected for those importing. Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you, RVK Fast. That is quite wonderful. You've been able to show that the solution to all this is local production or local refining of crude. And without this, we achieve nothing. So I will ask Comrade Etty. Comrade Etty, we've been having this discussion in Nigeria for years over we need to have refined crude here. We need to fix our refineries. We need to get this well across to those that need it on time. But this is 2024. We're still having this discussion. At least if we've not been having this discussion properly before. Since the beginning of this present democracy from 1999 to date, I don't think there's no period in a year, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, that Nigerians don't have this conversation. What do you think Nigerians need to do to ensure that government gets this done? Because it seems government cannot do it. Because if government can do it, we've had over 25 years. What do you think Nigerians need to do to ensure that those that are supposed to get this thing done do it? Comrade Etty, let me hear from you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me once again. Good morning, Nigerians. And I think one of the major problems that we are facing in the country is with the political economic leadership that we have in Nigeria. So we have leaders that are not development oriented, people that do not believe that there is need for the states to actually take a primary role in developing every sector of the economy. Because we live in a modern world, we all know that energy, I'm using energy broadly beyond even PMS, is a primary driver of modern economy. So any serious political elites, they plan that they have to find a way of providing energy in a sufficient and affordable and accessible way to their citizens. But what we have in our own case is that we have this bunch of irresponsible leaders that have for decades not planned on how to provide energy sufficiency to Nigerians. So it's a part of the broader problem we have in the country, where I'm very sure if you ask anybody that what is exactly the energy sufficiency plan of the government, you can't find anything anywhere. Rather, what they have done is that it's not any longer the responsibility of the government to provide even energy to our people that will be accessible and affordable, because those two things go hand in hand. Because I have seen some analysts, for instance, that make an argument that PMS is cheap in Nigeria, but it's not true, because what is cheap is what you can afford. So I'll give an example. Let's say they can pick a figure, say from Canada, and tell you PMS price per liter. In Canada is about $2 per liter. And if you convert that would be almost 3,000 naira per liter. But if you pick Nigeria, let's say on average, let's say 600 naira. I just even want to bring it down. For an average Canadian to earn that $2, they do not work for less than 10 minutes to earn $2, because average per hour is about $17. But for a Nigerian to earn 600 naira, even at 70,000, which have not been implemented, an average Nigerian will earn about 3,000 something per day. So 600 is almost 25% or thereabout of what you earn per day. So for a Canadian to buy their whole fuel at $2, they will work for less than 1 minute to earn that money. In Nigeria, you will work for more than a day to be able to pay for the same liter of fuel. So what I'm saying in essence is that fuel is expensive relative to income in Nigeria. And why is it expensive? Because the government have decided that they have no duty towards their citizens. That is just it. So they want to throw the citizens to the quote and unquote the market forces without providing a way for citizens to afford this fuel. Affordability is the key major problem, apart from availability. So we have this government that have not actually planned anything when it comes to that sector. They act like an extractive economic agent. They are not making necessary investments into that sector. They are not thinking about how to have linkages between the oil sector and the real sector of the economy. Saudi Arabia is highly dependent on crude oil. But what they have tried to do is to find the way of having linkages between that sector of the economy with the broader economy so that we can have a shared prosperity. But what we have in Nigeria today is that we do not have shared prosperity. Very few people are living fat on our resources, while majority have been socialized into poverty. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. That was really good from you. So from what you said, even though looking at it at face value, you may say fuel is PMS is cheap in Nigeria, but if you, from your calculation, if you look at what it takes to buy this fuel, you find out that it is harder affording the fuel in Nigeria. Even at the time it was less than 126 naira, it was still harder for Nigerians to afford fuel, not to talk of now that the prices is ranging between 850 to 1,000, wherever it depends on the location. Depends on the location. Thank you. I think I lost the audio there. Can you hear me now, everyone? Okay. So from what you said, even though at face value, it seems Nigeria the cost of fuel in Nigeria is low. But if you look at the wage, the affordability, you find out that Nigerians cannot afford it. Now the thing is this: there is the new saying that says government has no business in business. That we should let the businessman handle business. But for what you've seen, while government was handling the business end of it, they really couldn't do much. And now that we've been thrown to the market forces, things are getting worse. So, Comrade Tony, how do we strike a balance between, well, we've seen that every business that government handle doesn't work in Nigeria as far as Nigeria, just very few worked. Now, how do we balance this? What is the role of government in business? And how far should government go in business? Comrade Tony, I would like to hear, related to this fuel crisis. How far should government involve in the issue of fuel in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you, Abraham. Good morning. Hello, yeah, morning, Abraham. Okay, I would just like to start by saying that there's a common adage or balance in Yoruba that says that when a fish begins to spoil, it starts with the head. So the question that why is it that in Nigeria businesses run by government doesn't work still speaks to the political leadership. And that is why this whole noise about civil servant, because the current story is that the problem in the Nigerian political space is as a result of the civil servants. That politicians won't be corrupt if not that civil servants are corrupt. But the truth is this, is that everything is political leadership. The body language, the direction and what have you. Where you do not allow your political institutions, ministries to function, what you have won't only be docility. What you will also have is that people will have to get themselves occupied in one way or the other. Thirdly, is the fact that the politicians at the top are corrupt. So what do you expect these guys to do in the midst of poverty? So government involvement in providing services, in providing the needs of the people is paramount to any society. And that is what we've seen, even with the recent NNPC deadline of September. Yes, they've come out to say mechanically the refineries are ready to function, but technically they will need to test run and this, so it might take some time, but they're unable to give a specific deadline. Not minding the fact that this is a deadline they've given over 5 times in the last 5 or 8 years. So we have a set of people within our political hierarchy who are really not interested in anything. The truth is that these are individuals who basically deliberately destroy public institutions, either to sell them to their cronies or take them over. And you will see it in the real sense. Look at our various presidents from 1999 to date. In one way or another, they are involved in sectors that they've claimed not to work. So you look at Obasanjo, who is strongly into education, strongly into agric, and those businesses not working, and they're not even running with the tide. So you understand when they claim that they can't get involved in business, because it's a question of taking it out here and taking it up on the other hand. And that's a problem in Nigeria in the real sense. Otherwise, how do we? Because we can explain in a very ridiculous manner why petrol price keeps increasing, forgetting the fact that Nigeria was not born yesterday. We didn't give birth to Nigeria yesterday. Nigeria has always been in existence. So we had NNPC for 9 years under the APC leadership. They had the opportunity of bringing the 4 refineries on board. Rather, what did they do? They were busy selling dollars to Dangote. These are the same people floating dollars today, claiming that they subsidize it. So you subsidize dollar, selling it to Dangote to build refineries, with the excuse why many of us were pointing to the fact that if Dangote comes on board, petrol price will not go down. Because even within the legal framework of the Dangote, is not under any constitutional framework of Nigeria because it's a free trade zone. That it exists under a different, environment, constitutional environment, which means that it makes more sense for a Dangote to sell to our neighboring countries. In Congo, for instance, a liter of petrol is sell above $1 per liter. So why would a Dangote want to sell to Nigerians? Now, today they are selling crude to Dangote. But anybody that understands the way refinery works and the way they've also tried to explain over time, even from Dangote, there's a mix. Dangote got his loan, not in Nigeria, from abroad, or it's now a portion of it from abroad. It's in dollar. He buys his raw materials to refine from abroad. It's not in Nigeria as well. So it's not like crude is the only mix required to produce fuel. So even within the logic of this whole thing, we should agree that the coming on board of Dangote will not spell a relief or will not bring a relief to the mass of the people. What will bring a relief is that there must be a deliberate effort on the part of the government to be involved in this thing, and that is what they are not interested to do. And all this is not far. I mean, you could easily explain why the government will be accusing protesters of treasons. It says it clearly that the government is not interested in anything. So the reason why businesses are not, or government businesses or public institutions are not working in Nigeria is because government does not want these institutions to work. They are not interested in the business of governance. Rather, what they want to do is to sell the institutions to private entities. NNPC, without these refineries coming on board, they're already talking about getting private firms to run refineries. These are refineries that have been maintained over time with taxpayers' funds. Government has not come out to tell us or to account how these funds have been expended on these refineries. They have not. So this is the government telling us not to hold them accountable. This is the government telling us to just hope that things will get better. While on the other hand, they are telling us clearly that things will not really get better. So Abraham, so the fact is this, is that public insurance in Nigeria can work. They worked in the past. The question is, why are they not working now?
Yeah.
And it's because government do not want them to work.
Thank you, comrade. Thank you, comrade. So from your analysis, what you're trying to say is that it is more of a deliberate effort from those in government to ensure that these sectors don't work, so that they can invest in it and reap from, just like RBK said, cash out from the crisis created there. Now, I'm looking at something. Mr. RBK first, there's something that bugs me. I really am still trying to understand. What is the relationship between, Dangote refinery supply and NNPCL? Why are they the sole why are they the only person that will have access to this Dangote refinery, the products? And what is the contractual agreement, and how is NNPC going to handle this? Do you have an idea how the whole setup is? RBK first. Please unmute your mic. Sir RBK first, unmute your mic.
Okay, thank you. Few days ago, I was listening to former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who said Nigeria is a very complex country to run, but actually very easy if you understand it, or if you want to understand it. Now, we are not unaware that NNPC during Buhari's time went into some arrangement. I don't know how they call the arrangement, whereby they sold our crude in advance for loans. So whatever crude we are going to get from here, it has already been bought over. Now, being the sole controller on them, people who hold the oil sector and run it. And then this same agreement of crude for loan is still being continued currently. So what it tells you is that no matter how Dangote wants to play in this system, where will he get the crude? Our crude has been offered as a collateral in advance so that we get loans. So Dangote will now be forced to start importing from abroad. Even before he came on stream few months ago, we heard Dangote importing fuel from as far as the United States. That means by the time Dangote bring that fuel here, we shouldn't expect cheap fuel, just the way my comrade said earlier. We shouldn't expect. He's in business, he's not into charity. Now, NNPC, just the way my comrade, the last comrade said, they are civil servants. If all of them are civil servants from the GMD down, these are people who operate with a lot of bureaucracy, and over time, working with politicians, have get them immersed in so many underhand dealings that it's hugely beneficial to them personally, because the patriotism has been thrown out of the window. So now it means if a local refiner like Dangote is coming on stream, is going to upset a lot of those beneficial underhand dealings that a lot of people directly or indirectly from the NNPC and downstream and all those who are in the downstream sector wouldn't be happy. I don't know why patriotism is really a big issue in this country. Once I'm benefiting, I don't care whether Abraham is getting it or not. Even when I know I will still benefit and Abraham will benefit, but I prefer I'm the only one enjoying it. As long as if I step on your toes, you get injured, if I get it, I don't care. That's the attitude that is killing the system. So NNPC went into a lot of arrangement that has mortgaged our crew that we didn't know during Buhari's time, but it's now coming out because of the pressure coming out from the Dangote refinery that is almost about to roll out. So the more the pressure is on NNPC because people will start expecting NNPC should supply crude to Dangote. Why should Dangote be importing crude from abroad? Don't we have crude in the Niger Delta? When those questions start popping out, NNPC is now forced to speak up of this arrangement I earlier mentioned, crude for loan. A lot of people didn't know about it, but that was what happened during Buhari's time. And that, as at the last check, is still ongoing with this government, crude for loan. And there are a lot of players in the NNPC and the downstream sector that are benefiting from the system the way it is. That is what is making it extremely difficult to even enjoy the Dangote revolution that is happening now. And that revolution is being, put under with a lot of packed bosses, as they used to say in the Premier League, on his way because of this arrangement that NNPC has gone into with so many huge interests that are viciously holding the NNPC and the arrangement at the jugular to the extent that Dangote has to cry out at some point. They don't want him to function. He felt at some point Dangote has to start talking. The man we used to know that will only talk a little and just act. But now he's forced to cry out a few months ago. And then a lot of this started coming on board, that crude for loan, Nigeria has a stake, NNPC has about 20% stake. At some point they said they no longer have a stake. And then at some point they said NNPC is the one that will determine the sale of the Dangote refinery. They will determine the forest. The NNPC said no, it's the federal government that will determine the pricing model. Dangote will say, okay, I'm waiting for you. Okay, they will say, Dangote will say, okay, my crude is ready a few days ago, but NNPC is refusing to come and lift. So you keep wondering, why are these things happening? Aren't we in trouble? And this guy is trying to say, I'm in business. Come and let's do it locally. Let's just ease it. Even if it's not going to come cheaper, let the supply be there frequently. But the NNPC that is supposed to be the front burner in making this thing easier are not even taking it seriously. They are creating that atmosphere of suspicion that there's something the Dangote refinery is trying to upset that they are not happy about. Unfortunately, these things are beginning to spill out. We are beginning to see some of them, some of the loan agreement, some of the personal interests involved in it. And then NNPC tell you that, oh, we no longer have any refinery that is going to function, even after promising us 5 times or more that these refineries in Warri, in Port Harcourt, in Kaduna will come on stream. It's no longer possible. The last deadline was even last month, August, but none of them is upstream. They are just coming out now. So you keep wondering, what is the problem? What is causing all these hiccups? And these are things causing problem for the Dangote refinery too, because they keep confusing the whole system with a lot of untruthful stories. Now, recently the NMC is telling you, oh, we made a lot of profit last year after the financial market, only for us to be told now they have a loan, up to 6 billion naira loan that they can't afford to pay. And that's what is causing the recent queues at the fuel stations. So you keep wondering, 1 minute profit, the next minute 6 billion naira loan, $6 billion, not naira loan, that we can't pay. So you keep wondering, there are personal interests who are putting their self-interest first before the country and before Nigeria. So these are the issues that are causing us problem. Even the Dangote refinery, some of us are not happy that it's coming on stream because it's going to upset a lot of local interests along the NNPC lines and the downstream sector. I just pray one day we wake up to see this the Dangote thing as a sacrifice. Yes, he must have enjoyed 1 or 2 subsidies, 1 or 2 tax-free, but then he's here. We have a working refinery now in Nigeria, though privately owned, but man, he's going to satisfy the Nigerian market first. It may not come cheap now, but let the supply be steady. It will come, the ripple effects will happen later on. And that will bring down the price gradually. It will take time because Dangote has to pay bills. He's on loan. My comrade said he collected loan mostly from international.
Thank you, RVK first.
Thank you, Abraham.
I think at this point, we are going to go on a short break. It's still News Nexus on Ask TV, and the discussion is still blazing. So please, viewers, hold on and stay tuned. We'll be back in a short while. Thank you.
Ask TV, connecting the disconnected.
Village situated at the border, Birpur. The feeling of hatred dominates this land. BSD stands for Bharat Suraksha Dal. Paru, who lost her parents in an attack by the BSD. There was a boy who was 150 kilometers away from Paru. He was Rudra. His eyes had been searching for an answer every moment.
Rangracia shiri ne mai dogon zango wadda zai dinga zuwa muku duk ranar Alhamis da misalin karfe 7:30 na dare. Sannan za a maimaita muku duk ran Juma'a da misalin karfe 3 na yamma. Ku kasance tare da tashar Haske TV. Haske maganin duhu.
Masu kallo, Assalamu alaikum. Barkanmu da warhaka. Barkanmu da shigowa cikin wannan shiri ta dogaro da kai.
Dogaro da kai maganar da ake cikin gari. Yanzu lokaci ne yanzu mu yi nazari. Mu kama sana'a domin mu guje wa garari. Dogaro da kai.
Ni ce taku a kullum Kambari Rabi'atu. Kamar da muka sani a kullum, shirin yana zuwa ne ya zaɓulo mana hazikakku, jarumai kuma fitattu a wajen sana'o'in hannu.
Dogaro da kai tattaunawa ce a zahiri, inda masu kasuwanci sana'a hannu cikin gari. Dan a ba su damar tallata hajar su ko ɗari. Masu sana'a Haske TV ce take kira mu amfana.
Dogaro da kai maganar da da Haske TV.
Haske TV.
Jama'a, ku kalli Haske TV. Sunana Wash Waziri Home.
Haske TV.
Haske TV. Connecting the disconnected.
Hello viewers, hello Nigerians. You're welcome back to News Nexus on Aske TV. I still remain yours, Abraham Maina, Joda. And the discussion still remains fuel for thought. The impact of the Dangote refinery on the cost of petroleum. And my guests still remain the same, Comrade Tony Adewumi, Comrade Eti, and Mr. R.B. Kefas. And we'll be having the discussion on what is the root cause of the supply, the problem of supply in the sector, why the high price we're oil producing country, why should we be without a refinery? And from what everybody has seen, the problem are purely human-made, political, caused by political errors or political actions. And it is not due to technology or nutrient or nature. It is man-made problem. It's a man-made problem. But what I see in all this is we keep talking about this. We keep seeing the lapses. We keep seeing so-called errors or deliberate actions by individuals or group of individuals to ensure that Nigerians don't enjoy the fruit of the land. But what enables this, to me, is the lack of consequence. If we sit down here and begin to list the number of times we've had issues about the NNPCL subsidy and the rest of it, the petroleum sector, we hear issues that are supposed to send people to, at least there should be an inquiry, people should be charged to court and made to pay for their actions. But at the end of the day, I'm yet to see anybody stand to be corrected that has been charged, sentenced, or even fined for the fraud in subsidy, for the problem of supply, for inefficiency in an LNPC or any other, all this turnaround maintenance that don't turn around anything but just turn around the pockets of those that are in need. Now they say it's a complete turnover or whatever they call it, and still nothing comes up. And then I would like to know, is there no implication for government agencies or officials coming out to make statement, categorical statement, to Nigerians that this refinery will work by this time, and the time will come and elapse, and they come and give another time, and they begin to use technical terms. It is ready, but not yet ready. It is technically ready, but operationally not ready. These are issues. Is there no consequence for this action? Comrade Eti, I would like you to look at it. Is it because there's no consequence, that is why these things is happening, or is it because Nigerians generally we are not capable of handling this sector? Maybe we are not capable of handling the sector. That is why we keep committing error. Or the errors are deliberate in order to ensure that a few gain from what the whole country is supposed to gain from. Comrade Eti.
Oh, thank you once again. I think I'll harp on what Tony said earlier. We live in a country of impunity, where there are actually no consequences for bad action. Few days ago, thereabouts, the National Assembly said $25 billion have been spent on turnaround maintenance of refineries in the last 10 years, I think. So imagine the total cost of constructing 650,000 barrel refinery of Dangote. At least officially, we were told it was about $20 billion. While Nigeria has spent over $25 billion in the last 10 years of turnaround maintenance without any results. Do you think in any sane society we will have that kind of a report and heads will not roll? I will not have to probe those NNPC officials that have spent that kind of money that actually could have been used to build a new refinery. But nothing is going to happen because we are not new to it. Since 1990, they have been spending money on turnaround maintenance without any results. And nobody has been held accountable for failing to deliver to the Nigerian people. So that will speak to the idea that it was the deliberate decision on the part of our political elites not to make public institutions, especially refineries, to work. It was there because if they are not complicit, they will have sanctioned people. People should have gone to jail for mismanaging public resources. So it was a deliberate decision on their parts not to make all those refineries work. And for the past 5 years or thereabouts, the government have been, what's the word now? They have been preparing Nigerians to say it is Dangote refinery that will resolve our fundamental problem. Just wait a little bit. Once that one comes on stream, then we are going to resolve the problem. But let me bust our bubble. I disagree a little with my brother Kefas. Dangote refinery, whether in the medium, short, or immediate term, is not going to resolve the problem of affordability of PMS to Nigerians. He did not establish his refinery to solve that problem. He established his refinery to make money. So it has nothing to do. And we have an historical parallel to draw. Dangote presently is dominating the cement industry. Cement is not available. It's not cheaper. It's actually more expensive to buy cement in Nigeria than many parts of the world. He's also into fertilizer. And he supplies, I think, about 30 or about 40% of fertilizer to Brazil. Fertilizer is actually cheaper in Brazil than in Nigeria. So what we are saying in essence is these guys are not interested in Nigerians. They are only interested in extracting and exploiting Nigerians. Everybody must get that on the table so that we should not invest our hope in either Dangote or any other private sector. They are not here to develop our country. They are not here to provide affordable services. No, they are here to make money. And that is what business does. They are here to make money. But for a developing economy, you need a government that will play a primary role to put in place the building block of building your economy. Because there is nothing ingrained, there is nothing in DNA of governments. I'm using government generally all over the world that says they cannot deliver services. Even in Nigeria, Nigerian government has delivered services in the past. That they have stopped delivering services is not because government inherently cannot deliver it. It's because some people have decided not to deliver it. And I'll close with this one. One of the most capitalized and profitable listed company in the world is called Saudi Aramco. Saudi Aramco is owned over 90% by the Saudi Arabian government. It's managed by the public. They don't steal crude oil there. If they can do it, we can do it. If we are not doing it, it's because we have decided not to do it. And because of the way we are today in Nigeria, except government take a primary role of developing us, we are going to be moving from frying pan to fire. And I'll close with this idea. Take, for instance, energy is core to our life as a modern society. One will have expected that, let's say, if you want to throw everybody to the markets, you want to find a way of alleviating the pain. How can you alleviate the pain of the people? Where, for instance, we rely on energy, privately sourced energy, to power our transportation system. If you don't have an effective public transportation system, for instance, you will get direct hits of the increase in price of PMS. If you don't have an effective electricity production system, the NEPA and what's the PHCN and the rest that we have, you are going to have a major hit, because that means you have to provide your own eating at home, you have to provide your own light at home, you have to transport yourself on your own on a meager and miserable wages. And this in itself is driving the so-called corruption that we talk about. Because let's just assume an honest person in Nigeria is even earning 200,000 naira, an honest person. How do you expect that person to actually take care of himself or herself with 200,000 naira? That person will be under so much economic pressure that they will have to look for a way to actually sustain themselves, and they will have to compromise the system in order to survive, because survival is the primary role of everybody. So you can't even solve the problem of this impunity and so-called corruption, except you can give some people some level of hope that whatever you are taking home as wages can actually solve your problem. And it can be done. It's an holistic arrangement. Because if I approach a worker in Nigeria today as a government and say, as a worker, I'm going to improve your public education system so that you can send your kids to primary school, secondary school, and university free of charge or at almost no cost. What that does is that whatever Nigerian workers are spending on education, that goes back into their pockets. And that is how everything is run all over the world. I saw a survey where they asked many professionals in Nigeria that were migrating out of the country. One of the primary reasons they gave for migrating out is that their children could actually access good public education abroad. That will save them something, because they realize that once they lose their job, to even send their kids to school becomes a major problem. I'm just trying to draw all this kind of parallel, that we have a government that have decided not to govern, not to provide services. Whether it is providing energy, they have decided not to do it. So Dangote refinery is not going to resolve our problem, or any refinery for that matter, except the logic, the idea that runs the government, that say government has no business in helping the people. But that's what they are saying. When they say they don't want to provide subsidy, whether in electricity, in education, or in energy, or in PMS, what they are saying indirectly is government has no business in helping the people. But at the same time, they are also showing through their action that government's primary role is to serve these small people. They can buy new private jets, they can build a new house, they can buy new vehicles, because they are using all these resources that is collectively ours to serve their own narrow interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Eti. That is quite wonderful from you. So what you imply is that if they say government has no business in business, that means what they are saying is that government has no business in taking care of the masses. That is what he implies. That is the implication of what they are saying. Now, I would like us to change the tone of this discussion. We've talked about the problems, what is wrong, what should be, what it is not. Now, I would like us to calm down. And I don't want us to talk long term for now, because I don't think Nigerians have the patience for any long term policy or projects. We are people that we've been promised long term solutions for years, and we've not seen any. So in the short term, what is the solution to the price of fuel? If you are to advise government, I believe they are watching, they are monitoring activities, at least just to get information. They also need the input of people. So I believe we all want a short-term solution to the problem of supply and the problem of price. In the short term, in the next 2-3 months, what should government do to ensure that Nigerians don't crumble, their shoulder blades don't crumble under the weight of the increasing price of PMS? Mr. Kefas, in the short term, in 2-3 months, what will you advise government to do concerning the price of PMS and supply? Mr. Kefas, on mute.
Okay. Well, the best shortcut is going back to where we were before, subsidy payments. That's the best solution, because we don't have any refinery that is refining in Nigeria. We only have former refineries that were refining. In Warri, Port Harcourt, and Kaduna, none of them is refining anything. So the best solution, I don't know, is for the government to go back to subsidy, heavily paying to subsidize for fuel for Nigerians. That's the only solution I think is the shortest one and the immediate one that we have to go back. I don't know. Some people said, I've monitored over the media, that the federal government is already paying subsidy, even though they didn't come out to officially announce it. After withdrawing subsidy, well, we learned they've started paying. And figures have been bandied on some media platform. We've seen them. That was from June, around June, July. The government is already paying subsidy. But at the same time, the same government, some of their spokespersons are coming out to tell us that government has no business so far. Even as early as yesterday, the Minister of State for Petroleum came out to say they don't have control on prices. That is a sign that to tell there is no subsidy. But in another way around, we have seen one of few figures bandied on the media by investigative journalists who have told us that subsidy is being paid, but we are still seeing scarcity. But the truth is, the best and the fastest solution now is to go back to the former subsidy payment that we used to pay. That's the only way that we'll have fuel. And those subsidy payments should not just be subsidy, but paid to most of these importers what is due to them. And then that's the first solution. The second solution, which is not actually an immediate one, even when you pay these people, deep within us, from the importers to the policymakers, are we patriotic? Are we ready to make sacrifices for the benefit of the people? The last comrade mentioned that none of these public officers have the interest of the people in their heart. If we don't have that interest of the people, if at the heart and at the core of everything, if we are not ready to make, reduce this hardship of Nigerians, if they are not ready to bring in hire and fire policy, whereby people who try to mess up the government policy or system that will make things easier are fired or sacked, it's not going to work. So until and unless the big man out there, that's the Mr. President, is ready to punish and to punish openly for anyone, he has all the details at his table. These things are readily available if he's interested. If you want to know who is the problem or what is the problem along this supply chain to Nigerians, I bet you he is going to get that answers in less than half a day. This is Nigeria, where we all know that whenever we want things to work, it will work. We saw some of this thing happen during Obasanjo's time because we know how Obasanjo is. He doesn't take things lightly. Obasanjo is not a saint, he's not a perfect man, but I always refer to him because we have some level of sane government during his period because of the kind of thing he assembled, and then you know what to expect if you fail. We don't see that. We no longer see that in the last 9 years. Nobody is being punished for anything or for dereliction of duty. Nobody is being punished for not doing what is right. Nobody is being punished for banding lies to Nigeria. Nobody is being punished for taking taxpayers' money to make supplies or to provide something and is not doing it. Nobody is being punished for that, unless we bring up a policy of punishing those who want to make life difficult for Nigeria using taxpayers' money. We won't make any progress. Okay, few weeks ago, we saw what happened from the downstream sector, the agency managing the sector, telling us how, let me make reference to the Dangote refinery, of not getting licenses to operate, of saying the fuel or the crude from the fuel from Dangote refinery is not befitting for market consumption. It beats our imagination. Then how did Dangote get to this point Where were you guys in the process of licensing, quality control, and checks that we got to that moment? Only for us to hear after the hues and cry from the public, oh, that is not that what you think. It's okay. At some point, they have to be summoned to the villa for some talks. And then they came out to now say, okay, Dangote fuel will be ready. I was like, are we really serious in this country? And that kind of person, that kind of public officer, it should be punished. It should be relieved of his opinion, of his appointment for bandying such kind of a ridiculous statement about licensing and all those or whatnot. If we don't do this punishing act of those who derelict, if we don't we are not going to make progress, because people will feel they can say anything or do anything and get away with it. Then let me just go back. We need to go back to subsidy. That's the immediate measure. We don't have any refinery that will say, okay, start producing or refining more than our needs so that we'll have surplus. We don't have them. So we painfully we have to start spending forex or dollar to bring it to subsidize for Nigerians. That's the only way, and not just something, but make sure those payments to those who are supposed to get payment from by the NMPs and their agent should do it, and then should be paid as at when due. If we don't do that, I don't see any immediate solution to this thing. We cannot do turnaround maintenance that will be repeating of papers that we'll be doing them within the next 1 or 2 weeks. We cannot do that. I'm not sure those refineries are ready in the next 1 year. The only refinery ready to refine in Nigeria now, well, sorry, is Dangote refinery, at least based on what he's saying. But the other 3 or 4 that the government owns, they are not ready. They are not ready. So the only immediate solution is to subsidize and then pay as at when due. Pay as at when. If not, there's no immediate solution.
Thank you, Mr. RBK first. So the solution is for subsidy to return. I think from the language of the street of Nigeria, subsidy is the most loved person in Nigeria today. Everybody wants subsidy to return. And I believe if subsidy return, there will be this, there's this song that you say, return of the Mac. There will be a wild cry, jubilation over return of the Mac, return of subsidy. Comrade Tony, if you are to advise government, what do you think is the immediate solution to the affordability of PMS specifically in Nigeria today? Because I don't think it makes any sense for anyone to fill his tank with close to 80,000 naira in the present Nigerian economy. So what do you think government should do immediately? Because this is to me, we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder with this increase in the price of PMS. What should be done immediately, comrade?
Okay, Abraham, let me thank you. I would like to just say that the petrol subsidy or the petroleum industry, oil and gas industry, is a subset of the larger economy. So what this government have done by removing subsidy, because don't let's forget, is a part of a whole, by floating the naira and several other economic policies is what is actually contributing to the current increase. So the floating of the naira also has an impact on the current petrol price that Nigeria are forced to face, even though NNPC has come up to tell us that, look, even the price we are talking about is not market reflective. So in quote, what they are saying is that, look, you guys should be paying more than this. And it's important for us to even look at, Nigeria in Africa appears to have, is in terms of the price of petrol, is the 4th cheapest. So you have countries like Algeria, Angola, and I think Egypt that seems to be cheaper. All our neighboring countries are more expensive, above $1. So the situation we have as we speak today is not really restoring back subsidy. Yes, because we can demand that they should bring back subsidy. But But the question is, how do you fund the subsidy where you've even floated the naira? Is that right? So my own position is that government should back out from neoliberal policies implementation. They should back out because we need to look at the whole rather than saying that they should move subsidy. They should stop implementing neoliberal policies. And that speaks to government taking ownership of business. They need to get serious. Because there is no way you would say that business people should come and take over commanding height of the economy or economic sectors, and you expect them not to make profits and to be pursuing the needs of the people. It is not possible. It is not. So we need the government, for instance, is that government must, number one, and Mr. Kefas has pointed it very clearly, in the sense that we have various audit reports of NNPC. Farouk Lawan, what did government do to it? The various maintenance from government to government, the same contractors, without us having function. I mean, what has government done to all these things, for God's sake? Femi Falana has been complaining that we have private oil firms who are owing us trillions of dollars or billions of dollars. What's government saying about all these things? And it's because government doesn't want to get involved in business. So government needs to get involved in business to restore back these subsidies. Otherwise, you cannot continue to privatize or continue to shy away from doing business, public business, and you restore subsidy. We will end up in a mess. So you have the product of scarcity. Because what they would do if they restore subsidy back is to again use the argument to justify the reason why they need to remove subsidy if government doesn't get involved in business. So government needs to return back to business. And that has to cut across all economic sectors, for God's sake. Agri, oil and gas, manufacturing, and we can go on and on and on. And it is cheaper for them to be involved. We have Ministry of Works, for God's sake. Why can't our Ministry of Works actually construct rural roads? And you remember, under Jonathan, we have FEMA. What is FEMA doing today? FEMA is non-existent any longer. And I'm saying 4 or 9 years ago, when we had FEMA, even though FEMA was highly corrupt, but the point was that they were actually maintaining those roads. While I was in the university, the Ministry of Works in Ondo State was maintaining dams, Ayediogbese dams, towards Owo. They were actually, we had the engineers that were coming to those dams. But I mean, where are those ministries today? Because these are also ways that government can actually cut costs. Rather than issuing contracts that you cannot actually justify the value. But rather they are killing these ministries, they are killing these institutions to justify why they need to privatize or why they need to do public and private partnership. So my response, the short-term response, because this government has created a problem. The immediate response is that government should get serious. But the question also is that, can this government get serious? The answer is no. They cannot. So we need to be factual here. While advising government, we should also tell ourselves that this government will not take any genuine advice. What they want to hear from us is to justify the removal of subsidy, is to justify the floating of the naira, is to justify the hike in electricity tariff and the introduction of Band A. That is what this government wants to hear. And I think Tinubu and his ministers have made it very clear. And he said it, that you guys will protest, but we will remove subsidy. It was very clear. And how do you explain it Why would a government that claims that Nigeria should tighten their belt, and the next thing is that they need to complete the vice president's house within Aso Rock? Look at the amount. And they need to buy a new jet. Look at what this government spends. And look at the ridiculous justification they are providing. And yet, they cannot provide those same justification to sustain subsidy. It doesn't make sense, for God's sake. And they are telling Nigerians to go and face their governors. Are we saying that the governors are outside of Nigerians? No. The governors that you're asking Nigerians to go and talk to, I mean, were they created today? They've always been known and their character. And let's say it very clearly. The federal government, the federal government is not different from the governors. They are not different from the local governors. They all belong to the same political party. Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you very much. I think I like that. You said we can talk what we want, but Mr. President has said it on the first day that he go protest, he go tire. So, and you said they will not listen to any advice. What they just want to hear is Nigerians say, yes, removal of subsidy is good, this is good, floating of the naira is good. So, Comrade, please, we're running out of time. In 2 minutes, what is your own advice to the president himself? What is your advice to him, to the president, to ease the problem of this problem of cost of PMS? What will be your, if you meet him today anywhere, what will you tell him?
No, thank you very much. Because I live in this world, I do not live in alternative universe. What I will tell him is that, Mr. President, you are going to create a condition where the people are going to revolt against your government if you don't backtrack on these anti-poor policies. That's just the idea, because they have chosen to go to war against the Nigerian people and their means of livelihood. And ultimately, the Nigerian people are going to fight back in whatever way they can fight back. We are all Nigerians, we live in Nigeria. The level of poverty today is staggering. Even people that are working, they are struggling to survive. That's not theoretical. That is the reality of majority of our compatriots. And we cannot continue like this without people fighting back. So if I had to see him today, I'm going to tell him that your policies are making our people extremely poor. And a poor man have nothing but to fight for their freedom. So that's what I'll just tell him, because his policy is not taking us anywhere, like Tony just mentioned. So there is no point in advising him to do ABC. No, he has chosen to go to war against the people. All the policies. Because in the past, we have heard all these stories before, that once you remove subsidy from PMS, we are going to divert that resources, the savings, to education, to health. But as they are removing subsidy, the school tuition fees of higher institutions is actually going up, just telling you that they are not diverting it in any way to social investments. So that is a war against the Nigerian people. And now rather, I want to speak to Nigerian people. Do not have unnecessary faith and hope in the present political leadership we have in Nigeria. They have destroyed your life and my life for the past 4, 5, 6 decades. We have a result, we can see it. So why should they keep having faith in this system that is always raping and extracting resources from all of us? I think all of us must get that point very clear and decide whether we want to be slaves in our country or we want to be a citizen. The difference between a slave and a citizen is that citizens demand for good governance. Thank you.
And we're running out of time. So, but just before we leave, they say all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. We've been discussing very serious issues that get us agitated, that get us thinking. But I think as Nigerians, we have this resilience and we like to enjoy ourselves irrespective of what is going on. And I think today is an opportunity for Nigerians to ease off their stress. The match between Nigeria and Benin Republic is an opportunity for us to take away this pressure, take away this stress. For those of us that watch football, today is another day for us to support the Super Eagles, forget about the price of PMS, forget about subsidy, forget about anything, and begin to cheer. So on this note, I would like to ask everyone, what do you predict will be discussed for today? We shouldn't kill ourselves over these issues. Hopefully things will get better, but let us talk about the football match today in just a word or two. But starting from Ivory first, what do you think the scoreline will be today, Nigeria Benin Republic?
Abraham, as I speak to you now, I don't even have light, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to afford the 1,050 naira per liter that I saw at the AA Rano filling station at my estate junction. But then, we'll find a way to watch this game. We want to see our boys make progress after the last experience. But then, I want to predict it's with Benin Republic. I don't want to look down on our neighbors because they can spring surprises. So I'm patriotic when it comes to sport because that's the uniting factor in the country, whether we like it or not. Just the way it says the stress reliever, but I call it the most effective uniting factor in Nigeria. Let's say 3-1. Let me just give Benin Republic 1 and give our boys 3.
Thank you. Comrade Eti, what about you? Nigeria, Benin, scoreline.
Let me say 1-0.
1-0, thank you. Comrade Tony, Nigeria, Benin.
Let me strike in between 2-0.
What did you say?
2-0.
2-0. You can see since we began this conversation, nobody has smiled. Comrade Tony didn't smile, neither the Comrade Eti or Mr. Arike Fast. But the moment we talk about sport, you can see everybody is laughing and everybody is on the positive. And on this note, I would like to say Nigerians are very good people. Nigeria wants the best for Nigeria. You can see the support coming for the Super Eagles. And the government should understand, Nigerians it's not as if Nigerians don't like Nigeria. We love Nigeria. We wish Nigeria the best. So when we complain, when we wail in quote, as they say, we are waiting for Nigeria to get better. So, Mr. President, the ball is in your court. People are calling for you to look at your policies. We are groaning and we are asking, Mr. President, please look at the policies. What can you do in the short term, to bring succor to Nigerians? And on this note, we will end the program today. Is News Nexus on Aske TV. We'll come back to this station, Aske TV, 10 to 11 o'clock next week. Thank you very much. You are welcome. And to all my guests, thank you for coming. I believe we will still be coming back with positive news by next week. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Aske TV.
Aske TV.
Aske TV.